She leaned in with a folded napkin, hand trembling. Beneath it, a hidden note with just 4 words, "They poisoned your food." He froze mid-reach, eyes locked on hers, and for the first time in years, the billionaire didn't feel powerful. He felt hunted. The linen napkin in Maureen Johnson's hand was shaking. It wasn't the tray of wine glasses. It wasn't the weight of the starched uniform. It was the weight of 4 handwritten words inside that napkin. "They poisoned your food." She'd written it in a rush, using a pen from her apron and a torn piece of receipt paper. Her handwriting was messy. Her heart was worse. Maureen wasn't supposed to be on this section. As the newest hire, young, black, and barely trained, she was meant to shadow the senior staff. But when Devon called out sick, her manager shoved her into the deep end, and now she was serving the most powerful man in the room. Matthew Baker, billionaire tech mogul, CEO of Nextech, untouchable, unbothered, unreachable, until tonight. She wiped her sweaty palm on her apron as she approached his table. He hadn't noticed her yet. His eyes were locked on his phone, his posture perfect, his suit flawless. Across the room near the grand window, Michael Keller, Nextech board member and friend of Matthew, stood with arms crossed, watching, smiling. Maureen's stomach flipped. He was the reason she was here. He was the reason she knew what she knew. You don't owe him anything, she told herself, but you know what they're planning. And it was happening now. Matthew Baker didn't look up when she arrived. He never did. People came and went around him. Waiters, assistants, executives, lawyers, blurs in the background of his empire. He had built Nextech from nothing and crushed everyone who doubted him. At 39, he had more money than countries, more power than politicians, and more enemies than he could count. And yet, none had ever gotten close. Until now. His phone buzzed. Another anonymous tip, another veiled threat. He ignored it, just like the others. Then, the waitress cleared her throat softly. He looked up. She was young. Her name tag said, Maureen. Her face looked conflicted, not nervous like most, haunted, like she was making a decision in real time. She placed the napkin gently next to his hand, too gently. Something was off. Their eyes met. Then her voice, barely a whisper. "Sir, please, don't eat." Before he could respond, she straightened, turned, and walked away briskly, back toward the kitchen, almost like she hadn't said anything at all. Matthew's brow furrowed. He glanced down. The napkin wasn't folded right, not restaurant folded. With a flick of his finger, he opened it under the table. 4 words, scribbled in haste. "They poisoned your food." His stomach turned, not from fear, but from fury. He didn't flinch outwardly, but inside alarms blared. He looked up sharply. Keller was still watching him from across the room, still smiling. "Before we go deeper, if your heart's already racing just from that note, maybe that's a sign. This channel brings real, raw stories every week. Don't just watch. Subscribe so you never miss one. It means more than you think." Matthew Baker's world had never been quiet, but this moment made it silent. The clink of cutlery, the hush of violins, the soft chatter of millionaires, all of it faded as he stared at the scrawled words. "They poisoned your food." The ink was fresh, the message raw. No signature, no instructions, just a whisper of danger. He didn't panic. He was too trained for that. Years of boardroom betrayal, backdoor deals, and assassination attempts on his company had taught him to move like a machine. But this time, it felt different. He looked across the room again. Keller was gone. He leaned back in his chair, hands steepled under his chin. Waited. The steak arrived, sizzling, red, tender, bleeding. He didn't touch it. Instead, he casually pulled out his phone beneath the table and texted a burner contact. "Test food. Quietly. Now." Seconds later, a man in a dark jacket entered the restaurant, nodded at Matthew, and requested a table. just another customer to anyone else. But Matthew's men didn't dine. They handled problems. In the back corridor near the kitchen, Maureen gripped the edge of the metal sink, her knuckles white. Her heart pounded like war drums. She could still see his eyes, how they froze, how his jaw tensed the second he read the note. Did I do the right thing? She didn't know anymore. Everything had happened so fast. 2 weeks ago, she overheard something in the alley behind the restaurant, Keller on a call referencing the final dinner and liquidated options. She thought it was business talk, until she saw the vial yesterday, and heard Keller joke, "After tonight, Matthew won't be a problem anymore." "You okay?" asked Jada, another waitress. Maureen forced a smile. "Yeah, just nerves." "Don't let Baker freak you out. He's ice, no emotion, like talking to a statue." Maureen nodded, but that wasn't what scared her. What scared her was that if Matthew ate that steak, he might not walk out alive, and no one would believe the new black waitress who just happened to be near his table when it happened. She was expendable, but I warned him. I did my part, right? 10 minutes later, his agent slipped into the restroom. 2 more minutes, and Matthew received the text. Substance detected. Lethal. Odorless. Tasteless. Would have taken effect within 15 minutes. Suspected neurotoxin. He stared at the screen. For once in his life, he felt something close to fear. Not for himself, but for the idea that someone had gotten this close, and someone else had saved him. He stood abruptly, tossed a tip so large it nearly covered the bill, and walked straight toward the kitchen. The staff tensed as he approached, but he didn't stop. His presence was a gunshot in the room. He saw her instantly, Maureen, standing half-shadowed behind the espresso machine. Their eyes met again. "You, come with me," he said. She froze. "What?" He didn't repeat it. She followed. Outside, the alley was dim and hot. Steam rose from the vents. Maureen wrapped her arms around herself. Matthew turned to face her, dead still. "You slipped me that note." "Why?" Her throat tightened. "Because they were going to kill you." "Who's they?" "Keller and someone else. I don't know who. I just overheard things. I wasn't supposed to hear anything." He stepped closer. "You realize how crazy this sounds, right? That I could ruin your life in 10 seconds? Tears rimmed her eyes. "Then why didn't you eat it?" That stopped him. He stared at her. Longer than he meant to. Then softer. "Because I believed you. If you're already pulled into this moment, do us one small favor. Hit that subscribe button. Stories like this take hours to write, but seconds to support. And trust me, they only get deeper from here." The alley door slammed shut behind her. Maureen stood in the humid dark, heart hammering against her ribs. She'd followed a billionaire into the back alley like she wasn't risking everything. And now that the adrenaline was fading, all that remained was cold panic. What did I just do? She leaned against the brick wall and gripped her arms, trying to breathe. Mom would have told her to stay quiet, blend in, keep your head down. But this wasn't just a spilled drink or a bad table. This was attempted murder, and now she was tangled in it. She glanced at the kitchen door. Should she go back in? Pretend nothing happened? Just finish the shift? Or quit? Vanish before Keller realized she'd interfered? She didn't even know why she warned Matthew. She barely knew him. He was the kind of man who never saw people like her. But when she saw the poison, the look on Keller's face, something in her snapped. She couldn't let it happen. I didn't sign up for this. She wiped her eyes, squared her shoulders, and walked back in, head down. But she could already feel the stares. Matthew sat in the back of the black SUV outside the restaurant, door still open. The untouched steak, the note, Maureen's face, it all played. His agent was speaking, but he wasn't really listening. "We tested the wine too, and it was clean. The target was definitely the steak. Very specific. Pro-hit. We traced the source. Chef's assistant was paid under the table. Disappeared after shift. Keller's name isn't on anything but—" Matthew raised a hand. Silence. "Let it go for now," he said. "Sir?" "I said let it go." The door slammed. Inside, his gut twisted. Not from poison, but from something worse. doubt. He didn't trust people. Ever. And yet, she'd warned him, with nothing to gain. And when she looked at him, it wasn't fear of power, it was fear of doing the right thing. Still, he hated how exposed he felt. That someone had gotten that close, that someone had seen him vulnerable. He paced his penthouse that night, the skyline glowing beneath him, but it brought no comfort. He couldn't get her out of his head, not just the note. Her eyes. Maureen didn't come into work the next day, didn't answer her phone, didn't reply to the manager's messages, didn't pick up when Jada tried. She was hiding, from Keller, from Matthew, from the fallout she knew was coming. But Matthew wasn't used to waiting. So when his driver dropped him off at the restaurant, he didn't walk in to eat. He walked in to find her. "She's not working today," the manager said. Matthew's tone was flat. "Where does she live?" The manager blinked. What? She saved my life last night. I need to talk to her. I don't know her address. She's new." But Jada, standing nearby, raised an eyebrow. "I might know where she hangs out after shifts." She sat at a park bench 2 blocks away, hoodie up, phone off, wondering if she should pack her things and leave town. That's when a shadow approached. She turned and froze. Matthew. Standing in front of her, no bodyguards, just a suit and eyes that were colder than before. "You weren't supposed to disappear. I thought you'd be, I don't know, gone or angry." "I'm not angry," he said. "Just curious." She stood up, defensive. "I told you the truth. That's all I know. I'm not part of anything." "I know," he said quietly. A pause. "But now you are." Maureen sat cross-legged on the worn couch of her tiny apartment, fingers clutching a chipped coffee mug she hadn't even sipped from. Sleep hadn't come. She hadn't gone outside. The TV was on but muted. Everything felt off. Was she safe? Would Keller come for her? Why had Matthew come looking for her like that? She stared at the crumpled napkin, now resting on her counter. She'd taken it back when she left the restaurant. Couldn't bring herself to throw it away. Then, a knock. Not loud. Just 3 deliberate taps. Her stomach sank. She opened the door just enough to peek through the chain. Matthew, holding 2 coffees, no guards. Maureen blinked. "How did you find my place?" He shrugged. "You left breadcrumbs. I followed. I didn't mean to." "I know." Beat. "You going to let me in?" he asked quietly. Maureen hesitated, then unlatched the chain and stepped aside. Matthew looked oddly out of place among the worn cushions and half-lit kitchen. His suit was a tailored armor against her world. He placed the coffee on the table and sat stiffly. Maureen remained standing. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I've never had anyone do what you did," he replied. "Not for me." "It wasn't for you," she shot back. "It was for the truth. And for myself." He studied her for a moment, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a photo. It was grainy, surveillance style. Keller, talking to a man Maureen didn't recognize. He paid this man in cash 2 nights ago. Same man who disappeared after poisoning the steak. Maureen stared. "So, I was right?" "You were more than right," he said. "You're in danger now." She turned away, pacing. "I didn't ask for this," she muttered. "No," Matthew said. "But now you're in it, and I don't leave people behind." He stood. "You have 2 options," he said. "1, I put you in a hotel under protection, quiet, safe, isolated. And 2, you come with me, my world, my rules. I get to the bottom of this, and you stay in arm's reach." Maureen folded her arms. "So I'm either your hidden witness or your hostage? You're the only person who warned me. That counts for something." She exhaled, deep, shaky. "If I come with you, what happens next?" His voice softened just a little. "Then we stop pretending this is just about a steak." By afternoon, Maureen was in the back seat of a luxury SUV heading toward Matthew's private estate on the edge of the city. It wasn't just large, it was fortress-like, guards at every gate, cameras on every angle. It was safer than anything she'd ever known. And lonelier, too. Maureen stared out the massive glass windows, sipping tea. She could see the skyline in the distance. It felt like another world. Matthew stood nearby, scrolling through data on a tablet. They hadn't said much in hours. "You don't talk a lot, do you?" she asked, breaking the silence. "I talk when there's something to say. And right now—" He paused, then looked up at her. "Right now, I'm wondering why someone like you would risk everything for someone like me." Maureen's voice was low. "Because I've seen what silence costs." They locked eyes, not as Billionaire and Waitress, but as two people neither could define yet. And for a second, it didn't feel like protection. It felt like something else was beginning. At this point, should she have taken the deal? What would you do? Run or trust the man you just saved? Let us know in the comments. The house was too quiet. Maureen lay on the edge of the massive guest bed, unable to sleep. Her thoughts tangled like wires. The note, the steak, Keller, Matthew's face. All of it churned beneath her skin. She slipped out of bed, barefoot, hoodie zipped to her neck, and wandered toward the kitchen for water. But as she passed the grand hall, she stopped. The light was on in Matthew's study. She peeked in and saw him, not in a suit, not standing tall, but sitting in the dark, staring at a photo. It was of a little girl, brown eyes, maybe 6 or 7, missing tooth, laughing wide. Maureen hesitated in the doorway. "Sorry, I didn't mean to intrude." Matthew didn't flinch. "You're not," he said. His voice was low, no armor. She stepped in cautiously. "She's beautiful. Your daughter?" He didn't answer right away, just looked at the photo like it held him hostage. Then finally, "She would have been 11 this year." Maureen froze. The silence between them sharpened. "What happened?" she asked softly. His voice barely made it past the photo frame. "Car crash, my fault, I wasn't driving. But I sent her in that car. I was supposed to meet her after a meeting, but I pushed the meeting back. She went without a pause. I got there 20 minutes late, 20 minutes too late." Maureen sat down slowly across from him. She didn't speak, just let the silence stretch. Sometimes silence says more than sorry ever could. "After that," Matthew said, "I stopped letting people get close. I stopped showing up late or early. I just stopped feeling." He looked up at her, truly looked. "And then you walked in with that napkin. And for the first time in 5 years, someone saw me again." Maureen swallowed hard. She hadn't expected this, not from him. She looked away, blinking hard. "I don't tell many people this either." Matthew raised an eyebrow. Maureen gripped her sleeves, twisting the cuffs. "When I was 16, my brother got arrested for something he didn't do. Wrong place, wrong time. No one vouched for him, not even the people he protected. I saw him fold in that courtroom, like he knew the system wouldn't fight for him." Matthew said nothing, just listened. "Ever since then, I made a promise. If I ever saw something wrong, I wouldn't stay silent, even if it cost me." Her voice cracked slightly at the end. They sat in silence, different worlds, same weight. The clock ticked. Matthew set the photo down. Maureen leaned back, looking up at the vaulted ceiling like it could give answers. "Funny," she said. "We're both haunted by people we couldn't save." Matthew's voice came quietly. "Maybe this time we don't let them down." For a moment, the house didn't feel so cold, and they didn't feel like enemies, just two broken people, trying to fix one thing right. Maureen woke to sunlight peeking through velvet curtains. She blinked at the soft pillows, silk sheets, and silence that wasn't threatening. It was the first time in weeks she didn't wake up afraid. She walked into the kitchen, hoodie sleeves rolled up, her hair still wrapped. And there he was, Matthew Baker, barefoot in sweatpants, holding a spatula. "You cook?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. He didn't turn around. "Only pancakes. Anything else and I might poison myself." She smirked. "Too soon." He glanced over his shoulder. "You want blueberry or chocolate chip?" She smiled. Real, relaxed. "Both." They sat at the massive granite island, each with a plate piled high. "This is actually good," Maureen admitted. "Like dangerously good. Now I trust you." Matthew mock-bowed. "The kitchen is my boardroom." For the first time, there was lightness, a joke, a smile that didn't feel rehearsed. "So, what did you do before saving billionaires from poisoned steaks?" he asked. Maureen laughed, shaking her head. "Worked retail, took night classes, tried to stay alive." "Any big dreams?" She paused. "Wanted to open a cafe, with music nights, bookshelves, black-owned, women-led, real community space, the kind we never had growing up." Matthew stared at her for a long beat. "Why didn't you?" She looked down. "Dreams take money, and people who believe in you." He didn't reply. But something in his expression softened. Later that afternoon, they stood outside near the pool. Maureen dipped her feet in the water, jeans rolled up. The sun was warm on her face. Matthew stood nearby, sipping from a glass, silent, but calm. "You ever swim?" she asked. Matthew shook his head. "I haven't had time to relax in years." She splashed a little water at him. He raised an eyebrow. "You know I could fire you, right?" "You don't pay me," she shot back. They both laughed. "You're different than I expected," he said quietly. "How so?" "I thought you'd be scared, or jaded, but you still hope. That's rare." Her voice dropped. "Hope is the only thing they couldn't take from me." He nodded, almost like he envied her for it. That evening, after dinner, they sat on the couch, watching an old black-and-white movie. Not touching, just sharing space. But the air between them was warmer, thicker. "You ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't written that note?" she asked softly. He didn't look at her. "Every hour." Silence. "You saved my life," he said, voice low. "But it's more than that. You reminded me I still have one." She looked at him then. Really looked. And for the first time, it wasn't billionaire and waitress. It was man and woman. Maybe even something more. If this moment made your chest tighten even a little, that means you're feeling what we're building here. Subscribe, not just for the plot, but for every emotion that comes with it. Or maybe she'd just grown too much to fit back into it. Maureen dropped her bag on the floor and collapsed onto the old couch. It smelled like dust and old memories. The kind of memories you tried to outgrow, but somehow always found their way back when you felt hollow again. She stared at her phone. No missed calls. No messages. Good. That made it easier to pretend she didn't care. But she did. She hated that he didn't chase after her. Hated that she wanted him to. More than anything. She hated that she let him in, that she peeled herself open like that, gave him truth, and he ran a search like she was a criminal. I should have known better. She curled into the corner of the couch and tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come. Only the memory of his voice. "You reminded me I still have a life." Matthew sat alone in the study. No laptop, no tablet, no staff. Just the silence. The coffee had gone cold. He hadn't touched it. On the desk sat the folder, the background check on Maureen. He opened it again. Slowly. Page by page. Details, notes, photos. And then he noticed something he hadn't read before. A childhood address. His brows furrowed. The street name hit something in his memory. He reached for another file. Old correspondence from years ago, donation records, a letter from a community shelter on that same street. Then it clicked. He hadn't just met Maureen now. He'd seen her before. A photo buried in the file, a group shot. A girl, maybe 9 or 10, holding a book, beaming. The letter was from her elementary school, thanking him for sponsoring their free lunch program over a decade ago. She was one of the kids he helped feed, back before the money hardened him, back when he still felt. His voice caught in his throat. "I misjudged her, because I forgot who I used to be." He stood. It was nearly midnight when she heard the knock at the door. 3 slow taps. Her breath caught. She opened it. Matthew. in a simple coat, no guards, no apology rehearsed. He looked small for the first time. "I don't know how to say this right," he began, "but I saw the file again." Maureen crossed her arms. "Guard up. Did you find more reasons to not trust me?" He shook his head. "No. I found a photo of a little girl holding a book, smiling like hope hadn't been beaten out of her yet." A pause. "That was you, wasn't it?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. "You saved me twice," he said. "Once this month, and once over 10 years ago, when your smile reminded me what mattered." Her voice was low, cracked. "Why are you here?" "Because I finally realized the most dangerous thing wasn't what Keller tried to do to me. It's what I almost did to you." Silence. "I want to fix it," he added. Maureen exhaled slowly, then asked, "Do you want to fix it because I saved your life, or because you finally saw mine?" He didn't answer. Instead, he held out his hand, for once, not as a man with power, but as one desperate to earn back trust. And slowly, Maureen took it. The dining room at the Copper Oak buzzed with energy again. Different night, same setting. Only this time the tension in the room didn't come from poison, but from who had just walked in. Matthew Baker, in a sharp navy suit, calm, composed, and walking right beside him, Maureen Johnson, hair natural, confidence quiet, a grace that pulled every stare in the room, not on staff, not in uniform, but on his arm. They sat at the same table where it all began, but this time no steak, just wine, laughter, and eyes that held everything they'd been through. People whispered. A few heads turned in disbelief, but they didn't care, because for the first time, this wasn't a cover story or a survival tactic. This was real. The waiter, a young guy, clearly nervous, approached and laid out the menu. Matthew took it, smiled briefly, then handed it to Maureen. "I trust her taste." The waiter left. Maureen raised an eyebrow. "So now I pick your food?" Matthew smirked. "You've proven you know what's safe." She laughed, then leaned in, voice softer. "You still flinch when people bring steak." He chuckled. "Only when they're not you." As the night wound down, Matthew pulled a small envelope from his jacket and slid it across the table. She hesitated, opened it. Inside, a lease agreement, a down payment, and a letter. "The cafe you dreamed of," he said. "The music, the books, the community. It's yours now." Her hands shook. "You bought me a cafe?" "No," he said gently. "I believed in one. That's different." Her throat tightened. "I don't even know what to say." "You already said it," he replied. "You said it when you wrote 4 words and changed everything." As they prepared to leave, the young waiter from earlier rushed over, breathless. "Miss Johnson, I almost forgot." "What is it?" she asked. He held out a folded linen napkin. Maureen's brow furrowed. Matthew looked at her. She opened it. Inside, just one line, handwritten in neat cursive. "They saved your life. Now save someone else's." Anonymous. Maureen stared at it. Her eyes slowly lifted to the back corner of the room, where a woman in her 60s sat quietly, watching with a soft, familiar look. The woman nodded once and disappeared into the crowd. Outside, as they stepped into the night air, Matthew glanced sideways at her. "Do you believe in fate?" Maureen looked up at the sky, stars glowing like tiny truths. "No," she said, "but I believe that love shows up when you least expect it, and if you're brave enough to grab it, it might just save you." He took her hand. She didn't pull away. "Do you believe true love can survive even after being tested this hard? Or does love only grow when it's been broken and rebuilt?" Share your thoughts, your stories, and your truth in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if this one hit your heart.